Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Born to be a Snowfighter podcast, the podcast about the Metal Pless family, where we sit down and get to know the Metal Pless family a little bit better, get to hear their stories about how they became snowfighters, how they were born to be a snowfighter. And I'm your host, Nick, along with my co-host, Bob. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. To begin our podcast, we're going to do an episode about us. Our episodes are always going to be about the Metal Pless family and getting to know those folks, but we do need to do introductions about who we are. A lot of you know us from trade shows, from dealerships, from interacting with Metal Plus online, but we want to do a quick episode, talk about how we got here, how Bob and I got to know each other, and our individual snowfighter journeys. It will be a bit entertaining. Bob and I get along real good. We have great conversations, so hopefully it goes really well today. Let's begin, Bob, by talking about how you and I got to know each other.
Okay.
So we were just texting about this. You looked it up on Instagram, and a little bit of backstory on me and Bob. Bob is sales manager at Metal Plus. I am a territory manager at Metal Plus. So day-to-day operations, we're dealing with sales in North America all day, every day. So we have a working relationship, but our relationship started online.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep. Back in 2017, when Instagram used to be entertaining and not political,
Oh, it's changed a bit.
I was posting pictures of what I was doing. I was the operations manager of a snow removal company, and I was posting a lot and doing the hashtags. And somehow Nick Arndt, RDO Nick at the time, picked me up.
The infamous RDO Nick.
Yep.
People still call me that if they recognize who I am at a trade show. It's
Right.
kind of
Right.
weird.
And I was funny because we didn't know each other at all. And I was just looking back at our messages back and forth. It was awkward. We we didn't have the flow we
Yeah.
had now,
Yeah.
and I thought you were a snow removal guy. And then you said, no, I just sell this stuff. And, we started talking a lot about, in the beginning, it was mostly about snowblowers because you were broadening the pull style snowblower in the Fargo area, and that's what I grew up with. So we had some talks about Norman, Pronovo, Bilodeau,
All of it.
all of it. Yeah.
I was all in. And so back at Instagram, I believe has changed quite a bit, but I call it the good old days. So let's say from 2014 to 2021, man, it was just all about posting cool pictures. The videos weren't super complicated, and you could just see people posting stuff they were proud of and excited about. And that's what I did. That's how I got into Instagram. I was posting unique pictures almost exclusively about snow removal stuff. And I would just follow every single hashtag. I would follow hashtag snow removal, hashtag déneigement, hashtag. So that's what led me to all the interacting with the Canadians. And so I would just follow everything hashtag MetalPlus. And so anybody that posted anything hashtag MetalPlus, I would follow them. And I saw you posting stuff about a John Deere 4066 and a reverse max. And that was probably, I didn't look it up, but that's probably what we talked about. Instagram was the good old days. And I got to know so many people just through following them and interacting with them on Instagram. And honestly, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
Because that's how I got to know people, and people in the snow removal world are and were super accessible. So we started chatting. I'm just this salesman in Fargo, North Dakota, doing his best to bring the Canadian way of business to North Dakota. And that's kind of my journey we'll talk about later. But my goal was always to bring the Canadian methods to the United States. And people had already done that, but that was my goal to grow that. And you were one of the figures I ran into first. Everybody runs into Paul Vanderzon, and he was out there.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this guy lurking in the shadows at Vanderzon named Bob Green, who was the real mechanical brains behind the operation.
Whoa. Yeah, not really. That John Vanderzon was the mechanical brains behind that operation. He taught me a lot. But I started clearing snow for them in 1989 in a Kubota with a Burvac snowblower. Um,
My,
yeah, Burvac snowblower. And it was, everything was smaller back then. It was very easy to plug your chute back in those days, and the only way to unplug them was really to take the chute off. So it was much different, and the machinery was different. We didn't have hydrostatic, we didn't have power shuttle. It was all sticks and levers and clutches and whatnot.
yeah.
Um, so
Small shoots. People to this day still tell me that small shoots don't matter that much. Yes, they do.
yeah,
Big shoots matter.
yeah,
Big shoots matter.
yeah.
That's a whole other rabbit
Oh,
hole
and
of a
there was a whole,
conversation.
the whole snowblower evolved. I mean, back then there probably wasn't enough pallets in the fan. There wasn't enough, the screw was probably too spaced out, so it wasn't nothing, or those ratios were wrong. There was too many pallets in the fan. It was pushing too much wet snow. Anyway,
Yep.
it's yeah, that the snowblower is a whole different conversation for another day.
But
So
you got your start in residential snow more or less with the
yeah,
Vanderzons in the late 80s.
yeah. So I worked for them in it was 30 years in total, 25 for what was called Denijma Vanderzon. And at that point, Paul left full time to go work for Metal Pless, and he wanted to be bought out. So John and his brother Tony bought 1/3 and 2/3. So Tony hired me to be his operations manager, and I think we had 17 runs, close to 20 tractors. Yeah, 15 guys plus Tony and I. I said 15 guys, 15 people because we did have women working for us. Um, and that's where I really got the baptism by fire and how to run a snow business. Um, it- John was still there for support, but he was running his own show at that point. So if I really got stuck with a problem, he would come over. Um, but yeah, that was five years of running that operation, and it was I did everything, hiring, payroll. I work with the accountant, uh, training, and then the maintenance and repairs of the fleet. So it was the season would start. Oh, snow guys know mid-October and finish when it finished snowing, and then he'd hop back into the landscaping again. Um, so it was fun, but it was
Yep.
tiring. There were,
Yeah.
even if it didn't snow for 2 weeks, you're still at the garage every day because you can never stop maintaining. Because as soon as you stop maintaining, that's when you run into problems during the storm.
Yeah. And so you had a variety of experience, which I think is super unique in what you bring to the role today, is that you understand, since you were a snow fighter and not just an operator, you were a manager, you understand what's going on for the end user. And I think that comes through really well right now when you're having conversations with snow equipment companies, is that you get it. You weren't just plopped into this role from another sales role selling paper
No,
clips or
no.
whatever.
And the other thing, it wasn't just residential because the Vandersons ran what I always call as the hybrid style business. They did commercial and residential snow. So a lot of their fleet would have a plow on the front and a snowblower on the back, and you'd do your commercial lots, you'd drop your plow, go do your residential run. At the end, you'd go and put your plow back on. And there was years that I also ran a loader, which was my first experience with a wing plow. It wasn't a metal press.
Oh,
There
whoa,
was metal press
whoa.
in the fleet, but because I migrated from residential to the commercial side, I got the oldest loader and the oldest plow. And I used to see the metal presses running beside me, and they always seem more efficient. They clean better, obviously, and their wings didn't open flop. My plow was floppy. It would angle side to
Yeah,
side, and it was new. It was like a 2-year-old competitor's plow. But the metal presses immediately when they arrived, because Paul was still working. He still owned a third of the business, so he was working for Metal Plus at the same time. So he bought a couple plows. He started with a live box, and then he brought in some wing plows. Um, so I sat in a variety of chairs. I did residential snow, I did commercial snow and loader, I did residential snow with loader arms. And
yep.
I had a Metal Plus in front of a 4066 with a reverse max. It was a
That's what caught my attention.
it was
That's
a
what caught my attention.
rubber
Yep.
edge plow.
Yep.
Uh, and it was a great setup. I loved it. I had a standard blower on that, and I would do, again, it was a hybrid run. I was doing commercial and condos, pumping state, little lots, and then I would jump in and help the guys do their driveways.
Yep. Because with that reverse max setup on the 4066, you totally could. You could
Yeah,
back drag, turn around,
yeah,
and blow, which is a method. boy, I've really tried hard to promote in the US over the years, and it hasn't caught on as much as inverted blowing, but it is great for a hybrid run. But so when you're with the Vanderzons, they began transitioning to metal pluses, and I remember, so before there were any other programs about snow removal, Bob was part of a series in Quebec, this hidden gem of a television program that followed the Vanderzons, the company, for a season. And Bob was a reluctant participant in I don't even know how to pronounce the name of it, but
It's so
talk a little bit about that.
so yeah, so the show was called Plein Tempête, which is the middle of the storm. Um, and so this again, Paul Paul always wanted to do a show. So ProTech many years ago did Project Snowfighter. They did, I think, 4 years, and the Vanderzons were involved in two or three of them. So that was my first time being filmed. I
Yeah,
hated it. I hated
yeah.
it. Or you can see the side of my head in a restaurant.
Trust me, it showed.
I didn't do my interview. They wanted to interview everybody. I just didn't. Other guys loved it. I just left the spotlight for them. I just didn't want to be around when that was happening. And then Project Snowfighter, I think it was 4 years. The Vanderzons were, they did four companies a year. I think the Vanderzons were in two or three seasons. But then Paul kept trying, with all the reality shows that were coming on at the time on network TV, like on Discovery Channel or whatnot, you just named, the West Coast Choppers, whatever it was.
Yeah, that really big at the time.
Yeah.
There was West Coast Choppers and all kinds of building guy stuff
Yeah.
shows.
So he thought, and we all thought it would be great to do a reality show, and he
Yeah,
pitched it to a lot of people, and they come and do interviews. I remember one time Rob Vanderzon, so Rob's the youngest, and he now works for Norman Snowblowers, because this is a funny one. So Paul at the time was also selling Norman Snowblowers in the U.S. So he got a deal on Norman Snowblowers, and a load came in, and instead of having them assembled at Normand, Rob and I were tasked with putting the chutes on. Now, this all sounds super easy, but when you're doing a 92-inch inverted snowblower, the things weigh a ton.
no,
And unless you got a chain block, and we didn't, it was just, we were frustrated. We didn't like doing it. And there was a filming company there filming John, Tony, and Paul, the three owners of the company. Rob was an employee like me. And Rob and I are working on the snowblower, and the interview's going on like 15, 20 feet behind us inside the garage. We're outside, and Rob keeps going in to get tools and coming back out. And every time he walks by, he goes, "I'm a brother too." I'm a brother too. I'm a brother too.
forgotten brother, the forgotten brother.
Yeah.
Oh,
So somebody saw that. So Canal D, which is call it a French Discovery Channel, saw that one done, and that one was in English, and a producer said, "Yeah, this could work." So they came like a full film crew, sound, camp, like the whole professional setup, and they started doing interviews in October. And again, filming snow is hard because it doesn't always agree with your schedule.
you
So
can't
you
you
look at
can't schedule it at
no,
all.
they look at the forecast. They'd show up at the garage. You show up at the garage and you just sit there and look at each other. So, and then it wouldn't snow and they go home. The next day you'd get 6 inches of snow, but because it's a spread out film crew, they couldn't always assemble, or they had other things to do. So yes, again, super reluctant. Again, I speak French, but it's not my first language. Someone backs into the garage with a broken something on their machine, and I'm trying to fix it, and you've got a cameraman, the mic boom's like hitting you in the side of the head, the producer's like, do this, do that, and the director's, and at one point, this was the second season actually, I could not get these acetylene torches lit. There was something stuck in.
Were you trying to you were a phone book had gets I think or some kind of wire had gotten sucked into an auger,
Yeah, it might have been
right?
that time. I was stuck. I had to burn something out of the fan or the auger. I don't remember. And we had a new set of torches, and I could just, it was 50-50 whether I lit them or not. I don't know. There's something wrong with the mixture. And I was just like, tick, tick, tick. and this kept blowing out, kept blowing up. And I just looked at the director and I said, I can't do this. And I walked out. And if I
Yeah.
saw them at the garage, so, someone would call me, Bob, I need this, or it was one time a guy's hydraulic oil light came on. So I booked down to the garage to get a 5-gallon bucket of hydraulic oil, put it in the cab of my tractor, and I was sneaking around the shop so they wouldn't see me. Because as soon as they saw me with the bucket, they were going to get in their truck and follow me to
Oh,
where I was.
he's doing
He's
something
doing something.
interesting.
Yeah, let's go
Yeah.
follow him. And John goes, "What are you
Yeah.
doing?" I'm like, "Nothing. I just have to use the bathroom. I don't want to." So yeah, it was definitely reluctant. All the main players in the episode got filmed, interviews day to day, and a camera in their machine from front back that, and with them mic'd up, and they wanted us to talk. And the director had, I had an earpiece in, and she would be like, "Yes, to tell us about what you're doing." I'm like, "Well, I'm doing snow removal." Like, I was super impatient. I just
And it's an emergency too. It's not like this is
no,
some like you're like you got 4 hours to clear all these
yeah,
driveways. It's not like
no,
take two, do it again.
no,
It's not.
and I guess because the phone's ringing, I'm getting calls on the CB. I just when Paul did Project Snowfighter for ProTech, he was a supervisor in a pickup truck. So he could chit chat the whole time, get a call. I'm going to get a call now. And the other thing I didn't like it's cheesy because a lot of the things get reenacted. An
Yeah, I
event
think that's the
happens,
way it goes.
yeah, and they
It's
didn't get
not
enough.
good.
Someone's camera was not, or someone's mic wasn't. They'd reenact things, and it was annoying. I didn't like it. I'll be honest, I didn't like it. I'm a little bit better in front of the camera now, but I'm still not super relaxed about it. I don't want to be the center of attention. It's just,
Oh, so and I think we're the same way where we like helping people, but we don't necessarily like being the center of attention. But now, so you worked for the Vanderzons, part of that program. It all kind of builds your resume of snow fighting greatness. But the we should say if people want to know if they could see the show, they can't. There's like Canal D did not put this. This was before streaming. This was
yeah,
before
yeah.
posting shows online. This was like the beginning of YouTube being popular, so it wasn't on YouTube. There is like I've seen it. I don't know if it's exactly.
There's a handful of people that have seen it in the U.S. You're one.
Yeah,
Charles Plaisance saw it. Aaron Smith saw
yeah,
it. No,
yeah,
yeah, it's very hard to see, and you've tried to find it online, and you haven't had any
yeah. You
success. So
can't.
no, they didn't upload
No,
it, and there's stuff about the rights of it.
it's a bummer, and it's a bummer too because it is really good. It's 100% in French,
Hmm.
but with the way subtitles could be generated now,
For
you
sure.
can totally follow along. But the episodes are really good. Like some of my highlights include Bob pulling someone out of a ditch,
That was funny.
tractor to tractor pull, like he's the
That
hero
was Dave
Bob.
Ford. Yeah, he pulled him out of a
Yeah.
ditch.
So there's an episode where Bob is a total hero. And then there's an episode where I don't know why I watched this one over and over again when I got access to the secret discs. Uh they someone from Vanderzon drives to the Metal Plus factory and buys a plow, and I just thought, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. Like he's literally just a wheel loader dropping the plow in the truck, and I'm like, this is it.
I don't
This is
remember that. That's
oh
weird. I don't
man,
remember that.
no, I think it's Ryerson
Yeah,
or
it would have
like
been Ryerson or Chris.
Ryerson.
Yeah.
He drives like this F-150 with this oversized trailer out to Plessysville to get this Max Pro, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of a sketchy setup, but this is really cool.
Yeah.
Like, so that it is all intertwined.
Hmm.
So if like me, there are a lot of people around my age for the last 10, 15 years wanting to be a part of industrial professional snow removal. And when they start digging into it, they find that, well, Canada has it pretty figured out,
Hmm.
which leads you to, well, where are these inverted blowers coming from? Well, which leads you to some searching, which leads you to Paul Vanderzon.
Hmm.
And you were right there with Vanderzon in the middle of it. Now, at that same time where the inverted model was spreading to the United States, Metal Plus is also starting to take off. Vanderzon's using them, which really helps it get to the United States. So that is a big tie into how you got started working with Metal Plus, because Paul was selling them and representing them in the United States, which a few years later led to you coming on board with Metal Plus. Maybe talk about how you got started at Metal Plus. When did you start?
So this is a funny story, and I'll tie in Jason Whitmore, one of
Yep.
vice president of sales at Metal Plus. So we did a couple of open houses at the Vanderzon Garage that Metal Plus was the prime. It was like a mini trade show, a 1 day show at the Vanderzon Garage, and Metal Plus was there. A couple tractor dealers, Skier System. I don't know if you've ever seen Skier System. They have that very cool leveling blade for
Yeah.
skid steers.
Yep.
Um, was there anybody else? So Entrenage was there, which was Paul's other company that he had. They made the sticks and the Coroplast, sold
The
shovels.
sticks the sticks are way different in Canada.
Yeah. So, it was a mini, because Paul
Trade
also,
show at a shop.
a trade show at a shop. We did it 2 years in a
Yeah.
row. And meeting Jason, he's super personable guy, big personality. And maybe there or after, I shot him a text saying, hey, because Paul was working full time, and then his brother Rob, who's one of my best friends in my top five favorite people on the planet, was working there. So I just wanted to work with them because I missed them,
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I was getting fed up of the snow removal, being in the juice all the time. So
Yeah.
that was my first touch to Jason. Hey, and he texted me back saying, well, why would you want to leave what you're doing? And I just said, well, it's an age thing, because in the summer you're landscaping, it's hard on the body. Um, just like to, try something different. Months go by. It was probably the next year when Big Jason turned into Big Little Jason, which is another
Yeah.
story. He,
Whole other story.
yeah,
Jason
yeah,
is
Jason kind of shrunk.
uh,
He
good for Jason. It's still awesome
Oh,
every time I think about
I
that. Yeah.
whenever I find pictures of old Jason, it was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so we talked again. I probably did a follow-up text, and then Rob was getting Rob loves. It's not that he loves everybody loves his kids. He likes to be there when his kids are around. Like he wanted to cherish every moment of those three growing up, and they're all super duper athletic, involved in every sport possible. Um, and he didn't like being on the road and missing even practices. He just wanted to be there, wanted to always be there. And it was just getting to be too much. And then his mom got sick, and he just honestly said to Jason, I'm not giving everything I can to do this job properly. So Rob, he was at the garage, at the Vanderzon garage one day, and he had a truck with plows on it. He was going down to Toronto for the heavy equipment show, and he said, I'm resigning when I come back, so it'd be a good time to hit Jason up. But he goes, wait till I come back. So Rob texted me, and he goes, okay. He called Jason. So I sent a text to Jason saying, hey, just following up. It was the end of the season. It was like March, so I was in the garage taking everything apart. And so Jason got the text from Rob, or the call from Rob, and then he called me. He texted me saying, are you available for a call? And we talked about my role at Vanderzon. He went, oh man, I never knew. He goes, I thought you were a mechanic, because every time I went to the garage, you were in
Yeah.
overalls and you had
See?
grease from here to your feet. So
Lurking in the shadows.
so he had no idea that I did everything, not everything. I did majority of the stuff there. Tony was there too, but I was the operations manager every day running stuff. So Jason had no clue. I went and had an interview with Jason and Jimmy at this cute little restaurant in Plessisville, and explained my role to Jimmy. And Jimmy looked at me right away. He goes, "Okay, how much do you want?" He hired me on the spot based on my, because they were getting someone that could fix a plow, who could run a loader, who could talk the talk. And I was quite honest with them. I said, don't ever expect me to be a high pressure salesperson, because I'm not. I'll always answer my phone, but I'm always going to tell them the truth. And I do. I tell my clients the truth. You don't need that. Why do you want to buy that? You're better off with this. Maybe you're not ready for that yet. I try to always steer my clients in the right direction. And I told them at that point not to expect me to be a used car salesman. And I think clients get that from me, that I know what I'm talking about, because I come from the industry. I sat in the chair. I've been underneath getting gear oil dumped in my face. Like I've done all, tried to put a wheel on a tractor loaded with calcium. I've done it all. Been at minus 800. So I think they understand when they talk to me that I'm not just a greasy salesperson. I'm a greasy mechanic.
I'm a greasy mechanic. Well, it works out so good now. Like honestly, the diversity of your background, like when it comes to technical questions, you can answer almost everything, if
Hmm.
not everything. And in sales, I've found also I'm not pushy, but people are looking for you to give them almost all the answers. We can't answer everything, but the more you can answer, the more you know about parts and service and how the plow actually works and how their dealership actually works. Um, which is more what I've focused on because that's my background. But the more you know about what their actual business is,
Hmm.
the more they're going to rely on you and trust you. And I think Metal Plus, starting from when Paul and Jason brought the Metal Plus product over, Paul wasn't a salesperson hired to bring the
No,
product and just in like when someone asks a technical question, say, "Oh, let me look it up in a book." Like Paul knew what was going on with the plow and how to use it because he we got to give credit to Paul. He's responsible for a lot of the cool product everyone's using
absolutely.
now.
Yeah.
And when he saw a winner, he knew it. And
Hmm.
when he saw Metal Plus, it was a winner and it brought you along in the same way, but you have that same background. You have that same trustworthy, like if there's a Metal Plus owners group on Facebook, if there's ever a technical question, Bob is right there to answer it. And I think that's super unique that most of the time reps know the sales program, but they don't know, they haven't sat in the chair, they haven't faced the struggles. And so that worked out so good. And so you started, what was that, 2019?
Yep. March 2019, and I
March
started.
2019.
I started as a territory manager like yourself. I had New York, Vermont, and Pennsylvania. Um, and not long after Steve Sapaniak got hired, so I gave him Pennsylvania and Jason. That's kind of when I got my first promotion. Jason made me his assistant. So whatever that title was, I had assistant general manager or something, but we didn't have a general manager at Metal Plus, so I was
Yeah.
assistant to nothing. But
You just weren't allowed to be the, yeah.
it was just a way to give me a different title.
Okay.
It was cool. It was fine. I got a new business card.
We can't make you the full thing. We got, oh, you're climbing too fast. You're the assistant. You're the Dwight Schrute. You're the assistant to the regional manager.
So yeah, that was in like January 2020, right before COVID hit. Then COVID hit, and then everything got weird. But let's back up a little bit to how you and I met back in the good old Instagram,
Yeah,
the good
because
old days.
we're getting to that intersection.
Yeah,
17, then you come on board to Metal Plus 2019. You and I talked a lot during that
yeah,
time because I had, most of the time Quebec's a little different. Like it might be a little different now, but there's not a lot of French Quebecers posting stuff online about what they're doing. I don't know why. I just found that most of the people I were interacting were English
mm-hmm,
Quebecers, and you were one of them. And I'm like,
mm-hmm.
oh, this guy's in the Vanderzon garage. Oh, wait, now this guy works for Metal Plus. Like you were the ultimate insider for me about what's going on. And so, yeah, get to your point about us
So yeah, I mean, there was a
interacting.
lot of back and forth. We shared a lot of pictures, and we just chit chatted a lot. And I think we kind of fed off each other's friends lists. Our friends list
Yep.
grew from each other's. Um, and then I took over, to Paul's dismay, the RDO chain. Just
Yeah.
because I was quick. I was quick. Paul traveled a lot. He wasn't always available. So, but I was quick, and I think you kind of realized that, and you started placing orders with me, and you were the first big booking we ever did in the US.
Yeah.
Nick ordered all these crazy, because Nick,
You're welcome.
Nick, in my eyes, was
Yeah.
like Paul, like-minded to Paul,
Yeah.
that you always saw the potential of something new and different, and you wanted to change the market,
Yeah.
and you ordered stuff that we weren't really selling anywhere else, but you saw a place for it. And we talked more and more and more. And then I said to Jason at one point, I want to hire Nick. And I think I kind of made some hints and innuendos about you coming to work for us. And then that, one thing led to another.
We'll get to this later. I would say I've always wanted to be in the sort of territory manager role and be the person that helps dealers learn and sell more equipment. So yeah, when it came time for me to take the next step in my snow removal equipment career, My relationship with Bob was the key to that all happening. Yeah, that's where it all started. So Paul, I dealt with Paul, and I dealt with Jason, and I dealt with you. At the end of the day, sometimes, and I find this now with my dealers too, getting information to them the quickest is the most important thing. It isn't so much being there to shake their hands and all that because they're busy. It's getting them information super fast, especially when there's a problem. It's who can I text, call, or email and help me resolve this situation. And you were always super fast at that. And again, I think that's because you understood the urgency
Yes.
of the industry. This industry is all about, boy, we have 6 months to plan it out, but it is all about emergency, 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 emergency from October to April. It is,
It, the planning out thing,
oh,
it hasn't been snow removal company's strong point over the years. It's getting better.
no.
I find they're planning better now. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so when Nick came to Cleveland, SIMA, that was one of the mini trade shows that year. It was post-COVID when SIMA did 4 trade shows. One was in Cleveland. It was the main event, and we had a great interview. He spent 2 days at
Yeah,
the
two
show,
or three
and
days hanging around the show and
yeah,
hanging around with you guys.
yeah, and then Nick, I learned Nick's adventurous side the day after the show, and he dragged me all over Cleveland. We went to every
Oh,
every team sports
oh.
store. I
So
still,
I like I
I'm.
like going to trade shows. And we got to take a little side quest here is that when I go to a city, for a trade show, I instantly start looking at one, what is there cool to go see, like touristy things. I don't care how touristy it is. Two, are there sports teams, specifically baseball, playing while we're there?
Yeah,
And even if we're not, we're going to go to the stadium. But that started a long journey of dozens of trade shows of me dragging Bob everywhere. Like, oh, we're gonna go see Louisville Slugger Factory and have see baseball bats made. We're gonna go see,
that was
oh
cool.
my gosh, all kinds of things.
It was Vegas though. Vegas was crazy. One day we'd go left out of the hotel. One day we'd go right out of the hotel after. And Con Expo, if for people who've never been, it's a 5-day trade show that
So
if you
long.
walk, if you're attending the show and you try to see everything and you just walk up and down every aisle, it takes 5 days and you don't make any stops. You're not stopping at John Deere. You're not stopping at Metal Plus. You're not stopping. You are just looking, 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 looking. So that's the scale of Con Expo. So we walk 25 to 30,000 steps during the day, and then Nick would be like, "Oh, what hotel are we going to go see tonight, Bob?" And we'd go. It was just
I
crazy.
didn't want to. I didn't like. We had this thing like. I didn't want to gamble, and I don't think any of us really did
No.
gamble at all. I just wanted to see every single hotel
Yeah.
because I had been to Las Vegas in high school for a baseball tournament. I hadn't been there 20 years. I'm like, can we see them all? We literally walked around for hours upon hours every evening and just went through the lobbies of each one. Well, this one has this cool. This one has this cool. Like connoisseurs, like we could have started a blog about the interiors of these things. But that's that. Yeah, going back to Cleveland, that was my first dragging Bob around to
Yep.
stuff, and Bob's gotten healthier since then because the step count has escalated.
Yeah.
I like, oh, well, the Cleveland Guardians baseball, and we were there when they transitioned from
Yeah. They were
I like
still.
saw they took the Indian sign down and put up the Guardian sign. I'm like, well, this was cool timing.
Yeah. Well, didn't they
But like
didn't they have both kinds of merch still in their store? Like they had Indians
they had
jerseys
it,
and the
like
Guardian stuff was rolling out.
it was just rolling out, like it was just at the transition time. But yeah, that was Cleveland 2021, and then I came to work at Metal Plus in the fall of
Yeah.
2021. My
So
first official show
we haven't
was
talked about
GIE.
your background at all, on how you got to be
Yeah.
RDO
So it's
Nick.
unconventional.
Who was Nick before RDO Nick?
Oh, before audio Nick. So uh to me it's clear that you were sort of born to be a snow fighter. Like you were in Quebec where all the cool stuff gets developed. I always tell people that when they ask why does the best snow equipment come from Quebec, I go, when you think about it, where else in the world is there a super populated area where it snows so much? Like it is by necessity that people developed this cool stuff in Quebec. Other places in the world, mountainous regions, they're doing a different type of snow removal. There's a population where it's just dumping snow 100 inches or more every year consistently. And by necessity, people have made, like Jimmy Vino has made amazing snow equipment. And that's where you were born. I was not born in snow. I was born south of Seattle, Washington, in Tacoma, Washington, and I started in the same sort of way as a. It was an unglamorous childhood. My parents owned a landscaping mowing company. It really was just one crew of mowing, where from a very early age, I was out mowing all spring, all summer, doing small landscaping jobs. Like it was a laborious, laborious childhood, and we weren't the most efficient. So from a young age, maybe I started mowing professionally at age 12. My brother was 9. Uh, Questionable there.
child,
Labor laws,
child labor. Yeah.
child labor laws, and it wasn't a farm. It wasn't a farm either. So I was always thinking, like, what could we do to be better? Like, we're not using the best stuff. Like, I was always like from an early age looking at the other crews, going like, why don't we have that? Why don't we have that? Like that's the way my brain works. Like we could do this better and faster with some equipment. Well, at my parents' company, we never got that equipment. We'd get a new truck, and my dad would be like, "This thing's too expensive. I can't. I don't want to make the payment on this anymore." Well, in high school, my parents took over transitioned out of landscaping labor into. They purchased a small power equipment dealership, the one we went to, so we were familiar with it, and it was a really small shop that focused on service, repairs and parts, and high-end equipment geared at landscapers. Like that's why we went there. It was very personable for the professional landscaper, even though it wasn't big and fancy. It was a very, very small shop. In high school, they did that, and I worked there helping them all through college. Um, and then after college, I worked in advertising for a little bit, but like it was clear that I needed to be there to help them. And so I started taking these interesting angles at it where we would see a Home Depot. The Home Depot popped up right down the street from us, carrying some of the same brands we did. Like, what was I going to do to differentiate our stuff? What differentiate us? One, it was service. Like our service, I worked on systems to get stuff repaired, to have the parts, to get things out super fast. I wanted to run it like a restaurant. Like there's front of the house where the sales happen. There's back of the house where the mechanics worked. I really looked at it as a restaurant, and I got it running really well. We focused more and more and more on catering to landscapers, to pros, and we started bringing in other brands. Like now it was my chance to get the equipment that I wanted as a kid, but I didn't get to use it. I just got to help other people enjoy the benefits of it. So it brought me into some interesting brands. It brought me into Walker mowers, which are a unique, high-end, one-of-a-kind type thing. I think similar to Metal Plus and similar to the Metal Plus customer. There's a lot of crossover between Metal Plus owners and Walker mower owners, especially in Fargo here where I am. But so the shop became a real specialty shop. It grew ultimately. Well, as you know, I wasn't involved with snow in the Pacific Northwest. It snows a few times a year. It's a huge disaster. Like it's mostly ice events. The snow is gone by the next day. It doesn't really get super cold. It snows up in the mountains if you want to go skiing, but there's not like this industry of snow removal. There are people that offer it, but the average landscaping mowing company has nothing to do with snow removal. Therefore, I had nothing to do with it. But I would get the trade magazines. So there's industry magazines about dealerships and, equipment and selling equipment. And I would, for whatever reason, also get the snow editions. And I thought, this snow stuff is cool. Like mowing grass, like anybody could do that. Like this snow stuff is awesome. Like these blades, like these Metal Plus started running like print ads during the Vanderzonish area of Live Edge. And I thought, oh my gosh, like these people are making new things. Every mower kind of looks more or less the same besides that Walker. The snow equipment is so cool. And there were stories about Paul, and there were stories about Paul from the service side of how he grew this inverted snowblower. And I'm like, what? A snowblower that's backwards? Like just mind blowing. The way it still is for a lot of young people now when they see how cool it is, people are so drawn to the cool snow equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, one day I wish I could be a part of this snow stuff. Like this is so cool. Well, what ended up happening with my family's dealership is the family My mom passed away, who I ran the dealership with, and I had an opportunity to start over anywhere I wanted, more or less. And my wife and I decided, let's start completely over. She speaks Norwegian. She majored in Norwegian in college. She went to a Lutheran school, Pacific Lutheran in Tacoma, Washington. Trust me, the Norwegian degree is really paying off now. It's not. But she was like, I've always wanted to live in like Minnesota, someplace Scandinavian-ish. And we started looking at, small towns in Minnesota, North Dakota, and we came upon Fargo and thought, oh, this Fargo's interesting. It's not too big. It's really a great place to run a family, to raise a family. And I ultimately connected with someone running a Walker Mower dealership in Fargo, and one day picked up and moved out of Washington and literally just drove across in my Subaru Outback with the possessions we could fit in the car and started over. Now, when I got there, that's when I realized I was born to be a snow fighter, because instantly I started saying, what can we do? There is equipment that is not in Fargo that needs to be here for snow stuff. So while we focused on mowers, I quickly got us focused on unique snow products. The big one was Ventrac. So there wasn't
Right.
a Ventrac dealer in Fargo. And to me, I'm all about marketing and all about the exciting thing. Like, people buy the excitement and buy the emotion behind the product. And Ventrac was out there making amazing products and videos. And I brought Ventrac in. And this is where the whole social media thing started too, was that I started making videos of myself and other operators running Ventracs. And we started selling a ton of them. And that's what got me to know the people of the snow removal industry really well, was being kind of not the voice of Ventrac, but a real vocal proponent of it. And I fell in love with the snow world. Like, the snow equipment industry is super cool. There's super cool products, and I've been enthusiastic about it ever since. I was posting a lot of videos. So simple back there then to just
Yeah.
take a cool picture with the sunset in the background. That was sort of my signature. Throw a filter on there and be like, boom, explodes for hundreds of likes or whatever views. Again, I'm the one who wants to keep taking steps. So in 2017, I moved over to RDO, the biggest John Deere dealership group in the world, headquartered in Fargo. It was strategic that I moved to Fargo because there's so much awesome equipment going on here. There's Bobcat headquarters, there's Titan Machinery headquarters, there's John Deere facilities and plants, there's Case IH plant. It is an awesome place for equipment if you're into it. Lots of opportunity for jobs. I moved over to the John Deere dealer with the goal of building their commercial snow business, or commercial landscaping / snow business. And that's exactly what I did. I took those 4066R tractors, started selling inverted Norman blowers, was the first to bring in a metal Pless plow to put on a 4066. People said it wouldn't work. We proved it did. Hundreds of those units later. Shout out to Jasper Jacobson.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the first. He wasn't the first one to buy that setup, but I was posting videos, which I really think encouraged my end users to post videos and pictures on Instagram and YouTube. Jasper Jacobson posted a 4066 Metal Plus setup video that ended up getting, I don't know, it's a million views. It's more than a million views. I haven't checked recently, but that really skyrocketed things too. Now I'm getting calls from all over the country to sell them that setup,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not the easiest thing to set up. It's not the easiest thing to, to be a part of. What I found instantly, and I already knew, was the coolest attachments were coming from Quebec, but there's some barriers there. Like, the companies, like Bob is English Quebec, but the companies are generally French, primarily French Quebec. There's communication challenges, and in dealing with Bob and dealing with Paul and dealing with Jason, who are English. That was a huge motivator for me. But it was at first, it was very hard to get access to this stuff, just because the cultures were so different. Well, at RDO, it really took off. Like, the inverted game, we were selling dozens and dozens of those setups. Farthest I ever shipped a tractor and set metal Pless inverted blower out to was Alaska. Like, shout out to Nick Mulcare and in Anchorage, I believe, wherever Santa's Village is, because I thought it was the coolest thing that I sent a tractor and metal press and blade literally to maintain Santa's Village on Santa's Way. I don't know where that's at, but it's so cool. But it just became a thing where I was posting and got to know people and became sort of a resource for Americans a bit about, I what really escalated things was posting just really basic videos to YouTube explaining what I was doing, explaining what the attachments I was putting on the tractor, explaining the accessories I was adding to the tractor. We were adding at RDO. They gave me the go ahead to do this, so thanks to them. I really got to shout out them. But again, I wanted to do something more. Since I was a kid at my family's dealership, I always thought when the sales reps, the good ones, came in, because there's bad ones that are just like, here's the sales program, see you later. What are you going to order? The ones that, actually got to know us and could help and knew what was going on, I thought, I want to do that someday. Like the daily grind of a dealership is sort of probably what it was like with Bob and landscaping, and I'd been there too. Was, man, this is a lot of work. I want to not scale this, but I want something a little bit bigger. So I thought, where else but the snow stuff, which is now my life. And so when I wanted to move into OEM sales, my first thought was, what is, and Bob and I got to know each other really well by then. It was like, how could we get this going? Like, Paul, it was good timing because Paul, who was technically the rep for this area, I'm the upper Midwest, I'm Midwest and Western United States, was eventually going to retire. And like when Paul came to visit me as my rep at RDO, it was a real surreal thing because I had read about him as a kid, more or less, in my dealership magazines in Seattle, that having never seen more than 4 inches of snow at once. And now here I am interacting with him. Fast forward to October 2021, when I came on board with Metal Plus. I'm now working at a trade show, standing right next to Paul Vanderzon, and we're tearing down the show, and it's sort of surreal. Like, me and Paul are having dinner together one-on-one, and we did it. Me and Paul had lunch together one-on-one in Cleveland too. Like, it was a surreal thing. Like, here I am with Paul Vanderzon. Like, how did I get to this point? It's really, really divine intervention. But like, the real mind blower to me was, I'm at GIE Expo, the biggest equipment show outside of Con Expo in North America. I'm standing here. We're literally bribing bribing forklift drivers to get us our show box so we can move out faster. Like, well, now I'm in it. Like, I'm in it. Like, this is this. I'm a full fledged.
You're a snow
I'm
fighter.
neat. I'm a snow
Yeah.
fighter now, and that was the point where I realized, yeah, this is what I was supposed to do. And now I talk about snow removal like it's just this normal thing, but it wasn't. I never realized I was born to be a snow fighter, and now my daily role at Metal Plus, I get to help dealers and end users with their snow fighting journey. But
Yep. Yep.
still to this day, Bob and I talk, and it's just like it was at the very beginning, where like we never talk. Like, there's stressful things definitely happen with customers, with sales, whatever. But when Bob and I call to discuss something, the conversation never ends on a sour note. We're always like, yeah, this sucks, but
What are you gonna do?
it's also kind of funny.
It is what it
Like,
is.
we take the same, and I think that's why we get along. And I think this podcast will do well in our interactions. We have the same approach, where even when things are going bad, because it's inevitable in the snow industry that things go bad. Uh, we never have a conversation where it doesn't end in us just kind of laughing it off. Like, and so now I've been with Metal Plus for about 4 years, and there's definitely been some stressful ones, but every day I look forward to working because the team is really, really, really good. Like, the sales team, the office, everybody, from the top down, working for Jimmy. Jimmy's the innovator of the industry. Everybody's out there saying they innovate. There's an innovator in the industry. His name is Jimmy Vino. And we get to benefit from selling the coolest equipment. And in the future, more cool stuff. Like, there's no stopping what we can do. And that's why Bob and I are so enthusiastic, I feel. And we bond really well over it.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of this podcast is not to be pushing Metal Plus plows, but
No,
I will push Metal Plus plows because I really believe in the product and I think it is the best plow on the planet, hands down.
yeah. And the same thing when I was selling all kinds of snow attachments at RDO, and at the end of the day, I thought to myself, "What's the most proprietary, cool, awesome thing?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a Metal Plus wing plow. It's live edge. Like, I got to be a part of that because the way I sold stuff was enthusiasm, and what I was most enthusiastic about was Metal Plus and live edge and the wing blade concept. Like, to me, I couldn't go sell something else and pretend I was excited about it. Like I just couldn't do it. So it just worked out so well that the timing to me to come work for Metal Plus was there.
Yeah, it was
And
like
so
it was timing for me too. Things happen for a reason, and that's why we're here now.
yeah, so I don't know. I think this is a good place to end it. The future for us in this podcast is really just this was a get to know us a little bit. Most of you already kind of have an idea of who we are, but get to know our background a little bit. And moving forward, the episodes will definitely be digging into our end users because the Metal Plus family is what makes Metal Plus what it is. I like to point this out to people is that Jason and Paul brought Metal Plus to the United States. Amazing product by Jimmy, but it's the Metal Plus family, the end users that have made the brand what it is. I mentioned Jasper Jacobson earlier, but there's people like in from my world that I wouldn't be here where I'm at without them. Like Eric Welk making amazing video from Welk's Lawn Care about Metal Plus.
Hmm.
Dude, that like Nate Schustad from
Hmm.
Green and Black, all people that me and Bob interacted with together as like a group. Like it's the end users that have made Metal Plus what it is, and we want to have the podcast to celebrate those guys and for the general public, the snow removal public that might consume this, they might not know some of these people because they're not the most vocal online. That's who we're really targeting to to put out there into the world and to introduce you
Yeah,
to.
I did. We have a pretty cool. I keep calling it an eclectic list of guests that are going to roll through here, and like Nick said, they're not the social media influencers. So some of them are huge influencers, but I would say the most part of them are very quiet, but they've got interesting stories, and they're just really really cool people.
Yeah. The people running Metal Pluses are some of the most awesome people. Like you wouldn't believe it attracts a certain type of person. Honestly, it's an innovator. It's someone that wants to do it correctly. And to me, that's what me and Bob are all about. And so I think with that, we'll end this one. I could get talking and go a
Yeah,
little
we
bit
could
too
keep
long,
going.
but that's the way our
Yeah,
conversations go. So
yeah,
Bob will call me about a particular deal that's going on, and I'll look at my phone and realize, oh shoot, we talked for an hour. And so
pretty
that's
much. Yeah,
that's about what we that's about what we did here. So
yeah,
let's end it here. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and there'll be episodes to come that that expose you to the most excellent people in the snow removal industry, those who are truly born to be a snow fighter. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later.
yeah. Take care.